I'm now joined by my guest, who is an economist, Gbolade Idakolo. Thank you for coming on Business Daily today. Okay, let us go on a short break. When we return, the conversation will continue. To stay. And you're still watching Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. And just before the break, we did, listen to Nigerians hearing their thoughts on the discourse for today. Like I stated, today the focus will be on the Naira extending its losing streak for the 6th consecutive day. And this is despite the interventions that we have seen from the Central Bank of Nigeria. But joining me now to shed more light on this development, I am joined by an economist, Gbolade Idakolo. Thank you very much for joining us on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you again. And you have, heard my introduction talking about the performance of the Naira in recent times. Can you provide, an overview, especially for the benefit of our viewers, regarding the recent decline in the Naira's value, and what are the key factors contributing to this decline? And while we try to have him join us again, that is Gbolade Idakolo, who is an economist, I'll just point out that lately we have seen, the decline in terms of the value of the Naira, and we haven't seen that since the month of March 2024, and this is despite the efforts by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and especially the interventions that the CBN has put out there. Quite a number of interventions so far, such as, talking about, selling out the local currency to, forex traders, as well as, quite a number of other efforts in the area of increasing interest rate, as well as, increasing the asymmetric corridor as well. Quite a number we have seen from the Central Bank of Nigeria. However, that has not, given the results that have been expected. And we did hear from the Central Bank of Nigeria governor in the person of Olayemi Cardoso sometime last week, where he did come out to say that the worst in the area of the volatility of the Naira had happened. And moving forward, we should have, better expectations on the performance of the Naira. But I'm joined again now by my guest, that is Gbolade Idakolo. Thank you again. And please go on with your thoughts regarding the contributing factors to the decline in the value of the Naira recently. We seem to have some technical challenges there, but let us go on a short break. When we return, the conversation will continue. To stay. And this is still Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. I'm joined now by my guest, who is an economist, Gbolade Idakolo. Thank you again for joining us on Business Daily. Can you go on with your thoughts regarding the recent decline in the Naira and the contributing factors to the decline? Unfortunately, we seem to have some technical challenges again, and while we try to sort that out, today the conversation is on the performance of the Naira in recent times. We've seen about 6 days, of a reoccurrence of the losing streak, with the Naira exchanging for as low or for as high as low as 1,520 Naira as I speak at the FMDQ. That is the official rate, and that has obviously impacted, the markets negatively. But let us again go on a short break. The conversation continues after the break. To stay. We apologize for the break in transmission, but I'm joined now and again by my guest, who is Gbolade Idakolo. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you. And I will like for you to continue with your thoughts regarding the recent decline in the Naira's value and, the key factors that have driven this trend recently.
The recent decline in the value of the Naira is expected because of the continuous request for the US dollars and the scarcity thereof. This period is a period where a lot of people be planning for traveling, requesting for personal travel allowances. Importers need to import goods, and there is need for more foreign exchange. And this has put a lot of pressure on the Naira to the extent that scarcity of the dollars will continue to weaken the Naira. And that is why the effect is being felt presently.
We did hear from the CBN governor, that is Olayemi Cardoso, sometime last week, where he said that the worst in terms of performance of the Naira were all in the past. However, we are seeing, the opposite play out. What are your thoughts regarding that? And, what indicators should we watch out to gauge whether this optimism is well-founded?
Actually, the CBN has been trying to stabilize the Naira for a while now. And presently, about a week ago, for the very first time in a long while, the reserves increased significantly. And this is a sign that there will be more strength for the Naira going forward. But if you look at the present scenario and what is playing out presently, the Naira is still struggling to be able to be strengthened based on the demands that have not been met. But if you look at what the CBN is projecting, you cannot continue to increase the interest rate in an import-dependent economy. Why that will not work is because more demand will be for forex. And when there is continuous demand for forex, for goods to be imported, for either raw materials or finished goods, then there will be serious pressure on the local currency. And that is why we're having this. So the CBN needs to look at the situation of moderating inflation and also looking seriously about the interest rate to ensure that the interest rate is stable to a large extent. Because in the next MPC meeting, if there is another hike in the interest rate, I do not believe it will strengthen the Naira on the long run.
Before we go to expectations from the upcoming Monetary Policy Committee meeting, you have made a very valid point, especially, the seasonal demands for Forex. You talked about how, corporates and individuals would usually demand for Forex around this time of the year, summer vacation, corporates needing Forex. But what measures should be taken to mitigate the huge impact that these seasonal demands, have on the Naira at this time of the year?
The thing is, the CBN needs to, in conjunction with the deposit money banks, come out with a strategy to ensure that with cooperation of the bureau de change operators, to ensure that more of the demand for these currencies are done on cards and on transfer instead of the actual cash. When we do more of these transfers, of this demand on cash, like loading it on cards and also effecting transfers, it will reduce the pressure that used to come with the physical cash of the greenback. That has been the major problems that we're having now, especially for those that wants to go for vacation. They are looking for the cash equivalent of it. So the CBN needs to talk to the banks and need to come out with measures to fashion out ways and means that even when requests are made for PTAs or BTAs, it will be on cards so that there will be less emphasis on the cash of the dollars, so that it can be adequately saved for other uses. And also the manufacturers' request for forex should be prioritized even at this period because of the importance of what they stand for the economy. Because without the manufacturers coiling the economy, it will not bode well for the economy. So their request should be prioritized the CBN should ensure that anything that has to do with import of essential raw materials should be prioritized so that it will not form a bigger problem for us. Because if there is no productivity, then inflation will not be able to subside.
Okay, you touched briefly on the upcoming Monetary Policy Committee meeting and expectations from that meeting. There has been, diverse views as to what to expect regarding the monetary policy rate in that upcoming meeting. But let us hear from you. What are your expectations regarding the meeting, which is expected to end on Tuesday next week?
From the body language of the MPC, the CBN, vis-a-vis the committee itself, you will discover that there is a general belief that continuous hike in the interest rate will further strengthen the Naira, reduce inflation on the long run. In as much as these are positives that could come out, but we have not started seeing these positives because in the past 4 MPCs, we have discovered that there were continuous increases, but yet, as at the last inflation figure, it has jumped to 40-something%. So we need to look at a way to use other measures to combat inflation rather than using only the instrumentality of interest rate hike. And I would have loved if the CBN can look at the situation and put a hold on interest rate increase to be able to use other measures that are affecting inflation to be able to combat it. Because if we go ahead in the next MPC to increase interest rate again, it will continue to cause more problems for the business community, for the manufacturers, for people that have loans in the banks, and it will cause a lot of havoc as regards profitability of these businesses, especially the SMEs and the manufacturers. So we should look critically at other measures of stabilizing the economy, combating inflation, rather than using interest rate hike as the only yardstick for combating inflation.
Like you rightly stated, Mr. Idakolo, this is the 4th MPC, or we have seen 4 MPC meetings headed by the current CBN governor. And in all these 4 meetings, there has been a constant rate hike. Like you rightly stated, there has been also calls from diverse quarters, asking for the MPC to utilize other tools towards curbing inflation. But let us hear from you now. What other measures would you be recommending that the CBN should, utilize away from the hike in interest rate?
The CBN should look at collaborating with the fiscal authority as the Ministry of Finance and other government agencies that are saddled with responsibility of jumpstarting the economy to work out measures to stabilize the economic environment in Nigeria. The ease of doing business in Nigeria needs to be looked into seriously, and that is part of the challenges that we have. The ease of doing business, the taxation regime, although the government has put in a very good committee to look at the taxation regime in Nigeria to see how it can be brought into single digits instead of the various taxes that are being from the federal to the local government level. So taxation needs to be looked into to be favorable. The government has started coming up with tax holidays, tax waivers for some certain products, which is a very good way to be able to stimulate the economy. The CBN should look at these issues with a view of getting the maximum benefit that can accrue to the Nigerian government and also that can stimulate the businesses. Because if you give a very good tax waiver for businesses that are expanding in the Nigerian economy, then it will help to reduce unemployment and also increase activities in the economy. The issue of energy also needs to be looked into. That's why I said that the CBN need to make sure that it collaborates with other agencies of government to look at ways of ensuring that the economy runs smoothly. If we continue to increase interest rate with the economy in limbo, it will not have any effect. And energy is one of the major issues that is affecting economic activities in Nigeria. So the CBN needs to look at issues whereby energy consumption and pricing can be moderated in a way that it will not lead to losses for manufacturers and SMEs. One, and it can lead to a win-win situation to both the regulators of energy and the distribution companies as well. Because Nigerian manufacturers and businesses presently are operating under very harsh economic environment, and this needs to be looked into to make it a little bit enduring for them to be able to do business in Nigeria. Because what we have seen so far is that the measures that government has taken, apart from some tax waivers on some specific goods and items, has been very harsh on the people. Instead of alleviating the burden, has added more to it. And that is why we have seen so many companies exiting the country. So these measures need to be looked into to ensure that we have a good operating environment, the ease of doing business is enhanced and is improved upon, so that Nigeria's economy and Nigerian business environment can be competitive enough to lure other African entrepreneurs and businesses and foreign investors as well.
You seem to have, painted a very gloomy picture as regards the business environment in Nigeria and, the effects this is having on micro, small and medium enterprises. So I'd like to hear from you two specific low-hanging fruit solutions that you are recommending. You've talked about, tax holidays, but is that the major priority that you will be recommending this morning?
The second aspect, which the government plans to do, and I hope it will be implemented on time, is to be able to give out loan facilities to SMEs and companies that are in need of it at single-digit interest rates. The government has laid the framework, but implementation has not started. If this is done, so many of these SMEs and companies that are folding out because of loss of profitability or constant losses will be able to access these loans at single-digit interest rate instead of interest rate of almost 30-something% that is given by commercial banks now, and be able to stabilize their businesses and will be able to have more productivity in the sector. The government needs to look critically at the major issue of funding. And that is why the announcement by this administration that loans will be given to SMEs and companies at a single-digit interest rate is a welcome idea, because the manufacturers, if you ask the business sectors and the business leaders, they will tell you that companies are struggling in Nigeria, both SMEs and the big conglomerates. So if these loans can come from government and single-digit interest rate, it will also help these companies to be able to strengthen and increase their capacity, and those that are making losses can be able to recoup some of their losses back because of the single-digit interest rate and the long term of repayment that will come with it. So government needs to look critically at this to make some businesses that are already dying to come back and stay afloat.
Okay, just before we go, Mr. Idakolo, what are your predictions on the performance of the Naira, say in or before the end of the month of July?
The way the Naira is going, except a miracle happens, it might continue to weaken further. That is the way I look at it, because yes, the foreign reserve shot up, increased, but the Naira continues to be weaker. Except there is a more injection in the area of request by manufacturers and individuals to be able to meet the needs that are on ground. Because presently there is about 50% of the requests that are on ground that are being met by CBN and the commercial banks. If this can be increased to about 70 to 80%, then it will really reduce the pressure and will allow the Naira to gain strength. But I'm not saying that presently. But in the next 1 or 2 weeks, if the CBN can roll out new plans and measures to be able to feed into this request for Forex, I believe that Naira can improve. But if that is not done, I do not see the Naira gaining strength even by the end of this month.
Well said. I have been speaking with Mr. Idakolo Gbolade, who is an economist, speaking to issues around the performance of the Naira in recent times. And of course, the upcoming MPC meeting and expectations from that meeting. Thank you for all the insights that you have shared on today's edition of Business Daily.
Thank you for having me.
And this is where we draw the curtains on Business Daily this morning. But join the conversation on social media and let us hear from you regarding the discourse of today. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching and bye for now.